Welcome back to our fifth Holy Week devotion here at East Brady Baptist Church. This year we are looking at the 7 last words of Christ from the cross as we go throughout this Holy Week in preparation for Good Friday tomorrow. I hope you will join us then. But right now we look to the fifth word, which is recorded for us in John chapter 19, verses 28 and 29, just 2 verses. It says, "Later, knowing that everything had now been finished, and so that the scriptures would be fulfilled, Jesus said, 'I am thirsty.' A jar of wine vinegar was there, so they soaked a sponge in it, put the sponge on a stalk of the hyssop plant, and lifted it to Jesus' lips." Well, I always think it's kind of humorous the way John records this little tidbit here, at least the way it translates into English. It makes it seem like Jesus, he's just kind of hanging on the cross, and maybe he's running through all the prophecies regarding the Messiah from the Old Testament, and he realized, oops, I forgot one. That prophecy out of Psalm 69 where it says, "For my thirst they gave me sour wine to drink, so I better take care of that right now." And so he just works up the words to announce that he's thirsty. And so he's like, there, I fulfilled that prophecy, because then the soldiers are going to go and give him some wine to drink. They're going to do what it says in Psalm 69, right? But while the Messianic prophecy is fulfilled in Jesus uttering that he is thirsty, it's more like the psalm was written to describe what the Holy Spirit knew Jesus was going to do. So it's not that the psalmist was writing something that Jesus was going to have to do to prove he was Messiah. It was more like the psalmist, inspired by the Holy Spirit, knew that Jesus was going to say he was thirsty, and so he recorded that ahead of time. So Jesus doesn't waste words from the cross to merely fulfill a prophecy. And we see when you're gasping for life on the cross, every word is just too precious to squander. It's rather that Jesus utters the words for a real purpose. And in doing so, a prophecy describing him hundreds of years in advance was fulfilled. He doesn't say he's thirsty just to give us another prophecy to fulfill. So what is the purpose of these words? What makes them so important that Jesus must utter them, again, when every word is desperate? Well, the first explanation that I can think of is very likely that Jesus is thirsty. After being beaten and whipped, he was then pounded to a cross and then hung in the sun for hours. Of course he's thirsty. But there's a deeper importance in the fact that Jesus was thirsty. See, it would otherwise be easy to explain away the pain and the suffering on the cross by declaring that, well, Jesus is God, and therefore this pain, suffering stuff is just nothing to him. He just heals himself and he's fine because, well, he's God. But you see, the fact that Jesus is God we see here doesn't negate the suffering and pain of the cross. Because at the same time Jesus is fully God, Jesus is also fully human, as evidenced for us by his thirst on the cross. You see, God's not dependent on his creation to fulfill him. Therefore, God doesn't get thirsty. But humans do. And Jesus thirsts because he's fully human. See, as a human, Jesus experiences every physical and spiritual agony represented by the cross. It's not negated. It's not explained away by saying he's God. The suffering is very real. So Jesus says, "I am thirsty." It is evidence of the very real suffering Psalm 69 declared hundreds of years earlier that the Messiah would suffer. You see, in expressing his thirst, in expressing his suffering, Jesus once more asserted that he is Messiah. He's the one these things said would come. He is the King. He has come to save all his people and usher in an eternal kingdom of peace, peace with God. So sometime today, I want to ask you to meditate on the humanity of Jesus. Something we don't talk about a whole lot, right? What does it mean to you that Jesus came to earth as a human being? He left all the glories in heaven to come down as a human. And how does that help him to understand you, do you think? And how does that help you identify with him as you go through your sufferings in this life? I want to ask you to think about those things and then make plans. Make plans to join us on Facebook Live tomorrow at 2 p.m. for our online Good Friday worship and devotion service. Let's all get together. Let's all try to make an effort to be here together at 2 p.m. when we will finish our look at the 7 last words of Christ. God bless you, my friends.